7 young people spotted a bright spherical object emitting an intense green light floating above the trees. They followed the strange phenomenon to Bologna Lake, where they found 3 bronze-colored cylinders floating on the water, which seemed to scan them. The tension grew as the object slowly advanced toward them, forcing the group to flee in desperation. But before we begin, it's important that if you've ever seen something scary or experienced an abduction, don't hesitate to share it in the comments, because I believe in your account. Your story could be the next to inspire others. We would be happy to hear from you. The case of the bronze beings, which occurred in Belém do Pará, is one of the most intriguing episodes in Brazilian ufology. This event took place on September 14, 1979, a Friday marked by a heat wave that was scorching the Curio neighborhood in the Utinga region. The story, filled with mysteries and testimonies, captured the attention of the local population and even the national press. One of the main witnesses was Laertes Lauro da Luz, who at the time was only 10 or 11 years old. Laertes clearly described the events of that night, which began as a simple meeting between friends and ended in an extraordinary episode. Around 7 o'clock in the evening, after having an early snack, Laertes decided to leave the house and visit a friend who lived nearby. The neighborhood, like many in the region, had streets that ended in the vast Utinga forest, a setting that already exuded mystery on its own. While they were talking outside the house, Laertes noticed something unusual in the sky. A spherical object with a light green coloration, slowly floating above the trees. He called his friend to observe, and together they became intrigued. The friend speculated that it could be some aeronautics experiment, but the intensity of the light and the object's movements indicated something far beyond conventional explanations. In Laertes' words, the object was a globe that emitted light from all sides like a burning coal, but with a greenish glow. Fearing that he would lose sight of the strange phenomenon due to the surrounding houses, Laertes began to run, determined not to let the object escape his view. Despite it being night, he was familiar with the area and quickly reached a nearby field. It was there that he had the most impressive vision to date. The object seemed to have increased in size, now floating above the treetops, emitting an intense light that illuminated the area. At that location, near Bologna and Agua Preta lakes, Laertes noticed that the object began to slowly descend, hiding behind the trees. Nevertheless, the light was still visible, making it clear that the phenomenon continued to be active. Initially, he thought he was alone in observing, but upon looking around, he realized that other people had also followed the object. Several residents of the neighborhood were there, intrigued by what they were seeing. Laertes, always curious, decided to call a friend named Antonio Doval, who owned binoculars. Together, they gathered other young people and took flashlights to explore the area. However, before they could even move forward, the object began to illuminate intensely again, taking flight once more. This time, the globe seemed larger and emitted a yellowish light, while a smaller blue-toned light spun around it at high speed. The UFO headed towards the São Brás neighborhood's forest, disappearing from view for a few moments. The 7 young people, led by Laertes, decided to continue the investigation. Despite it being night and visibility being reduced, they were familiar with the Utinga forest area. They walked along the trail until they reached Bologna Lake. There, they were greeted by an unusual sight. A strange white mist hovered over the water's surface, making the scene even more enigmatic. To improve the lighting, they decided to light a bonfire and stayed at the location, discussing what they had witnessed. While they were discussing, one of the young people noticed something in the lake. They pointed their flashlights in the indicated direction and, to their astonishment, spotted a cylindrical object floating on the water. It was dark, with a bronze hue that slightly reflected the light. As they continued to observe, they reported feeling as if they were being scanned by the object, an uncomfortable and difficult to describe sensation. Illuminating the surrounding area, they realized that it was not just one cylinder, but 3 identical objects. The 3 bronze-toned cylinders were slowly moving toward the group, increasing the tension among them. Fear took hold, and the young people decided to flee, running back to the neighborhood. Upon arriving at the neighborhood, they found a chaotic scene. Many residents were on the street, curious about the events. There were also police officers and reporters, including journalists from the newspapers A Provincia do Pará and O Liberal. Laertes and the other young people shared their accounts, detailing everything they had seen and felt that night. The press quickly highlighted the case, publishing articles the next day with the title, "The Bronze Beings." Despite the suggestive name, Laertes stated that they only saw cylindrical objects, and the term beings may have been an exaggerated interpretation or a strategy to attract more attention to the case. Nevertheless, the episode sparked the interest of many. In the following days, the location was visited by high-ranking military personnel from the aeronautics, indicating that the case had not gone unnoticed by the authorities. Major TV networks also sent teams to cover the incident, making the case of the bronze beings known throughout Brazil. Other residents of Belém reported sightings of a luminous object that same night, reinforcing the veracity of the episode. However, when some people returned to Ballona Lake to search for evidence, nothing else was found. The cylinders had disappeared without a trace. The case of the bronze beings remains a mystery to this day. It is a story that combines courage, curiosity, and fascination with the unknown. Even decades later, it still sparks debates and theories about what really happened that hot September night in Belém do Pará. I hope you enjoyed this detailed account. Don't forget to follow the profile for more fascinating stories about UFO cases and unsolved mysteries.